form or linearity, I will give you something inaccurate. If there is a beginning to the story of my grief, it would likely be that day in Bath, when I was told my mother was ill. She had been diagnosed with cancer for the 3rd time in her life. What I didn't know then was that grief begins at diagnosis. That insight came when I spoke to the best-selling author and leading grief therapist, Julia Samuel, some time after my mother died. It suddenly made sense of that year when my mother was ill. I still moved to Berlin as planned, in the blind hope that we had time, and because she wanted me and my brother to continue living our lives. There, I did my best to adhere to what I thought it should look like for a 20-something to live in Berlin. From the outside, I succeeded. I functioned like any other young person. I still went out drinking, to clubs, to work, hooked up with people, woke up hungover, listened to podcasts, went on holiday, posted on Instagram, complained about work, about politics, about my salary. On the inside, I was in turmoil. I couldn't work out why I wasn't having fun, why I wasn't falling in love with Berlin the way I had fallen for Melbourne. I slept poorly, washing sleeping pills down with wine or smoking the joints my friends rolled at bars to override the terrifying loop of death-oriented thoughts that would consume me when my head hit the pillow. If I didn't, I would cry so hard that the physical pain would make it difficult for me to breathe, and I would wake feeling more shattered than I did after staying out at a club until dawn. During the day, I would find myself physically holding my breath or chewing the inside of my mouth on the U-Bahn in the morning. My shoulders were perma-tensed up towards my neck, and my stomach would be gripped, as if anticipating a punch in the gut. My body was responding to the violent fear of losing my mother, but my mind rarely connected the dots. I didn't realise I was already grieving. Neither did anyone else. My friends in Berlin didn't know my mother was ill. My close friends from home visited me occasionally and would tell me I was coping really well, but that I could tell them if I ever needed anything. I had no clue what I needed. We'd continue to talk about all the things we'd always spoken about, crap boyfriends or dating app ghosters, shitty jobs and patronising bosses, tear-inducing rents and mouldy walls. We'd talk about our futures and the things we hoped lay there. Yet I was no longer present in these conversations. A deep schism had opened between us. I felt like I was spectating my friends' problems, concerns I'd related to only weeks before, from a strange position, off-centre, wildly off-axis. Time progressed, but my perception of it helixed erratically between anticipating an unrelentingly dark future and the relative warmth and stability of the past. The future was no longer something that held promise, no longer something I wanted to plunge headlong into. It was bleak. When I tried to imagine what my life looked like without my mother in it, I couldn't. It turned up black, like a dead computer screen. What made it worse was that I knew no one else my age who had been through it, who might be able to paint a picture of how that blackness could come to be re-illuminated. My mother died the day after my 26th birthday, in April 2018, just a year after she was diagnosed. I received the call to come home on a Thursday night in late March. Berlin was experiencing a freak cold snap. I sat, rocking, on a bench outside a bar, hood pulled over my head, as snow fell gently around me, coating everything in soft white. I flew home. I was by her side as she died, with my father and my brother, sometime near dawn. We arranged the funeral. In the weeks that followed, I braced myself for the wave of grief to crash. It never did. I was already at sea. During the weeks leading up to her death, my mother said something to me that would change the course of my grief. She suggested that after her death, I find a support group for young people. Instinctively, I knew this was what I craved. If I could talk to someone else who had been through it, they could tell me what to expect, how the loss might change me, and what grief would feel like at this age. By the same token, I felt an aversion to being among middle-aged people who'd lost older parents who'd had the chance to watch their children grow up.